The origins of Sega date back to 1940, with American businessmen, a father and son duo of Irvin Bromberg and Martin Bromley, who slightly changed his last name, and a family friend, James Humpert. Together, they formed Standard Games. Standard Games distributed coin-operated amusement machines that were developed by other companies for military bases to help entertain American soldiers. After World War II, the US government outlawed slot machines in its territories that led Standard Games to establish a new business in Japan to provide slot machines to US bases. This company was called Service Games. The name Sega is simply an abbreviation of Service Games, taking the first two letters of each word and combining them. By 1960, the US government was again cracking down and investigating criminal business practices that led Service Games of Japan to dissolve in May of 1960. Just 3 days later, Irvin and Martin formed two different companies. One of these companies, Nihon Kike Seizo, which translates to English as Japan Machine Manufacturing, would take the Service Games of Japan assets and continue to focus on slot machines. Over the next 5 years, Sega changed leadership and found its groove with amusement games, pinball, and gun machines. By the late 1970s, Sega was a respectable name in the arcade business, with revenue reaching over $100 million. While the arcade boom was over by the early 1980s, Sega had become a successful entertainment business and set its sights on the Japanese home market for video games that was just dawning. Sega's first home console was the SG-1000, launching in Japan on July 15, 1983, the same day that Nintendo launched the Famicom in Japan. The SG-1000 was powered by an 8-bit Zilog Z88 central processing unit. Capable of displaying 15 colors, the video and audio output was supplied through an RF switch. While not as successful as the Famicom, the SG-1000 was a success, outselling the projections of 50,000 units, with an astounding 160,000 units being sold within the first year. Some of the more memorable games that the SG-1000 featured was the Black Onyx, one of the earliest examples of a JRPG, and Girl's Garden that was widely regarded as one of the best games on the console. With the surprising success of the SG-1000, Sega began to work in 1985 on the Mark III that was a redesigned SG-1000. The newly redesigned Mark III was called the Master System. Today, we look back on the Master System and showcase the best the console offered in terms of games, graphics, soundtracks, and nostalgia, as well as answering some of the biggest questions about the success and failures of the system. The first time that I ever played the Master System, I was probably around 5 years old. I had never played video games before, and I was playing baseball games with my family. I have two older sisters. I was playing with them, and I think my dad was also involved in it. And it had to have been either Great Baseball or Reggie Jackson Baseball. But I just remember I was having a blast with it, and even though I wasn't really good, it was, for the first time in my life, I could control what was happening on screen, and it really mesmerized me. And ever since then, I've just been hooked on video games.
When was the first time that I played the Sega Master System? I mean, the short answer is, I don't know. But deep down inside me, I feel like the first time I played one was on a display unit at a Hills department store. How did the Master System evolve from the Sega SG-1000 or the Mark III? Well, it's a lot bigger for one, annoyingly bigger. But you know, in the U.S., the Master System added, I think, the 3D glasses. Although it did miss out on having FM sound, so it evolved in a lot of ways by just adding things into the system for peripherals. But in general, I think that I would trade all of that to have FM sound in the US. So it didn't evolve really very much. What was the Sega card format? So it's just like a little, like almost Hue card-esque card, you know, that goes in the front of the Master System. I just think that the games that came on it usually were just not something that people would pick. There's no like, holy cow, I can't believe like this game is on the system and it's on a card. There's no real reason to put a game on a card, I think, after a certain point. I don't know if it was cheaper to do it that way or not. I feel like it was probably unnecessary, and it's just, here's an easy way we can get something like what is it, F-16 Fighting Falcon on the system, or like My Hero, just like really small games that weren't that great. And I think that there's no game that was released on that format really felt as though it was like that it needed to be in that format.
In North America and Japan, the Master System had modest success at best. Selling around 3 million units between the two markets, the Master System had stiff competition from the NES, which sold over 53 million units. The Master System was a bit of a disappointment in North America and Japan, but it did find a surprisingly large amount of success in other regions, like Europe and Brazil, with a combined 15 million units sold in those regions.
Why did the Master System fail when it succeeded in Brazil and Europe? Probably shelf space. Just Nintendo, they had that exclusivity deal where, you know, if you're a third party and you were making games for the NES, then you weren't allowed to make it for anything else. I know that some developers like circumvented this by, you know, coming up with like fake companies, but that certainly had a huge impact on what happened with the Master System in the US. Absolutely.
Nintendo already had a massive fan base in Japan that led to consumers choosing the Famicom over the Master System. In the US, Nintendo's developers had signed third-party exclusivity rights that prevented many developers from creating games for Sega. Most of the game library for the Master System was developed by Sega, as other developers were handcuffed to Nintendo. Then there's the distribution issues that Sega faced in the US with its partner at the time, Tonka. As a toy company, Tonka took over the challenge of distributing the Master System around the country, and the lack of experience in the video game industry really showed. In Europe and Brazil, however, the Master System found a lot more success. The NES didn't have a hold on the European market yet, which kept the door open for Sega to have a slice of the market. Marketing was also much more aggressive in Europe, which led to early sales victories for the Master System. For Brazil, the Master System became a cultural phenomenon with the help of Tectoy, which managed the console in Brazil. Tectoy localized and released exclusive games in Brazil, which were affordable to the consumer market. The Master System, in fact, is still going strong today in Brazil over 35 years later. Brazil is and was the most dedicated and loyal market to the Master System.
What were the key differences between regions, if any? As I mentioned, there was like the 3D glasses in the US. Although something that I didn't know about until, like the last 5 years is that in Japan, the Master System added in like the ability to use 3D glasses, but it was built into the system natively. It just had a little like headphone jack built into the system. I had no idea this was even a thing until I saw one at the offices for M2, the Japanese game developer.
Sega had built a lot of success through classic arcade titles. It also saw Nintendo as a video game company to emulate and had hoped to create a better console than the Famicom, which it did. It's hard to argue that the Master System didn't have better graphics, sound capabilities, and memory than the Famicom. Combining the success of the arcade and the technical superiority of the Master System, Sega had hoped that the console would outshine the Famicom with arcade ports like Outrun, Space Harrier, and Hang On.
The best arcade port on the Master System for me, is Space Harrier. In a lot of ways, I think that people see like these big chunky background sprites with the box around them, like does not look good these days. But I think it was like a really interesting way to handle what enemies, the animation and scaling of enemies on not great hardware compared to what it was in the arcade. But Space Harrier, I think, is a great arcade port. And in a lot of ways, I think it's the best port of this game than other systems. I mean, even though it looks like it moves slower, but not really, like compared to like what came out on the NES and even like PC Engine, I think that the Master System looks and sounds just a ton better.
While those ports are fantastic, overall, the plan for the Master System to compete globally did not pan out. For gamers who bought the Master System at launch, they had a strong library to choose from. It's tough to know the exact dates for release for these games, but the early lineup was quite strong for North America. Choplifter, Fantasy Zone, and Hang On are some of the best games on the system, while Ghost House, Teddy Boy, and World Grand Prix are solid launch titles. The NES was far more popular and ended up with a library of 1,376 officially licensed games compared to the Master System's global library of 315 officially licensed games. But from those 315 releases, there are numerous exclusives that never came to the NES, making the Master System worthy of obtaining. Some of the best exclusives that never reached the NES include Asterix, Concedin, Spellcaster, Quartet, Golden Axe Warrior, Master of Darkness, Zillion, and Phantasy Star, but there are tons of others. The Master System was the dawn of consoles in North America for Sega. And these iconic franchises also got their start on the Master System before continuing to other generations. There's Alex Kidd, which featured Sega's first video game mascot in an action-packed platformer. And there's Phantasy Star, which would become the progenitor of JRPGs and have a long lifespan as a successful franchise. Both of these got their start on the Master System. There were some awesome games for this console that really pushed it to the limits. Here's a couple games that I think are really worthy of praise because of what they did with so little. Phantasy Star had massive 3D dungeons with smooth scrolling, a large world map, and the game featured multiple character sprites and tile sets that were animated along with a battery save. Outrun pushed the Master System to the limits with its fast pseudo 3D scaling effects while the cars raced around smooth curves and gave players a real sense of speed while being one of the most accurate 8-bit arcade ports. Power Strike showed off what a shoot 'em up could do on the console with massive bullet counts and tons of sprites, and the Master System handled all of that action impressively with minimal slowdown or flicker. And if you have Sonic the Hedgehog, you gotta go fast. And go fast the Master System port did. Despite being limited compared to the Genesis, the Master System did its best, giving gamers the speed that they craved with Sonic while displaying large, smooth, scrolling levels.
Once again, Phantasy Star. I mean, this game was just doing crazy stuff, from like the first-person dungeons, which just looked so incredible. Like, you know, seeing those screenshots in a magazine, it was like I needed to have this. I don't even know what this game is like, but I needed to buy it. It blew all my birthday money on it. It was a great decision, and I wouldn't be the person that I am today if not for doing that. But, you know, even how much animation there was in each enemy, even though you only had one enemy on screen at a time, and, you know, it would say that there's a list. It would have a list of enemy names, and those were to signify that there was more than one. But the animation on them was incredible.
Speaking of pushing games to the limit, let's take a look at the games that are visually most impressive. Now, this doesn't mean that they are great games, but it does mean that they looked great. I already mentioned Phantasy Star previously, and that's a great selection, but I do want to give some spotlight to Phantasy Zone 2. This was a full upgrade from the sequel, and the visuals really pop, whether it's the bosses, the enemies, or all of the action on the screen. To me, Phantasy Zone 2 was extremely impressive, at least visually.
There's a lot of Master System games that did not get official releases in the US, and I think that something like Shadow Dancer is a great looking game. Surprisingly, the port of Wonder Boy and Monster World is pretty great. That never came out in the US because, you know, the system was long buried here at that point. But it's a pretty good looking game. I mean, of course, Phantasy Star is a great looking game. Rastan is a great looking game on the system, a great arcade port. I think that Rampage is a really great looking game on the system.
Platforming is one of the most enjoyable and popular genres in video games. This form of gameplay dates a long way back, and there were some amazing platformers on the Master System. Here's our choices for a few of them.
Probably Alex Kidd in Miracle World. I know a lot of people really don't like it in retrospect, but I certainly have a soft spot for it.
When you look at the ultimate action platformer, I think it's an easy choice. Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap is not only probably the best game on the Master System, but that also means it's the best platformer on the Master System. It offers a ton of variety in gameplay, and just overall, it's a near flawless experience. On the Master System, there was the Great Sports Series. Great football, great basketball, great golf, and so forth. These typically were not great games. Some of them were good, like baseball, but if you want a better than average sports game, here's a few for you. I think Reggie Jackson's baseball really should deserve some love for this section because it just has all these small details within the game. I loved in between the innings, I love the motion of the pitchers, I love the outfield view. To me, if you want a baseball game, if you want a sports title, Reggie Jackson's baseball is the top choice for the Master System. One of the accessories that came with the Master System was the light phaser gun. Now, this was a light gun that you could use on numerous games, but as a kid, I did not get to experience this for very long. When I was young, I tended to chew on things, and so I actually chewed through the cord of the light phaser cord, and so after about 6 years old, I did not have access to a light phaser. But since then, I've gotten a hold of one, and I've been able to enjoy quite a few games with the light phaser, and here are our top choices for games that use the light phaser.
This one's pretty easy, and I would have to definitely say Gangster Town. It's just a really, really fun game and lots of varied levels. It's one of the best light gun-based games of the era. Maybe the best.
Gangster Town is a phenomenal choice, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick Rescue Mission. In this game, you're gonna be shooting enemies that are trying to hurt your medic who is in the field of battle, and he's trying to rescue your squad. And it's just a really unique and fun game that I think does a lot of cool stuff with the light phaser. Now, there was another accessory that you could buy with the Master System, and those were 3D glasses. There wasn't a ton of games that used this, but there were a couple, and here's my choice for your top 3D glasses game. I think Missile Defense does a really good job of utilizing the 3D glasses, and for those that want that classic arcade feel of Zaxxon, well, you can play it in 3D, and I think it's a pretty solid port.
I don't know, I want to cheat a little bit and say, I don't know, Zillion? It's more of an action puzzle game, but there is some memorization and puzzle aspects to it.
I'm sorry, Corey. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I do not think Zillion is a puzzle game, but that's okay. There's plenty to choose from. For me, my choice is either Columns, which has a pretty good soundtrack and it's kind of like Tetris, but there's also Penguin Land where you're a little penguin and you have to rock back and forth an egg and get it to land on different platforms without cracking it. It's kind of fun.
This one's super, super easy, and that is without a doubt Phantasy Star. It is perhaps the best game on the system even.
Now, I fully agree with Corey about Phantasy Star. Phantasy Star is a top 3 game on this console. It is one of the best JRPGs that I've ever played for the 8-bit generation. If it's not the best JRPG, then I don't know what is for the 8-bit generation. But Phantasy Star should get all the praise and all of the applause that it deserves. But I do want to point out, there's a ton of JRPGs for the Master System. I shouldn't say there's a ton, there's probably 12 to 15, but one of them that really deserves love is Golvellius. It's a pretty cool JRPG that has both a top-down view where you have to figure out how to get into the dungeons, and then once you get into some of these dungeons, it goes to a side-scrolling view, and there's a lot of action on the screen, and it's really transformative of the gameplay layers in Golvellius, and gamers that want kind of a unique challenge that's a JRPG, I think Golvellius is a great selection for those that want to try one.
Rambo First Blood Part 2, aka Secret Command or aka Ashura. This game is just really, really underappreciated, and I think it's really, really fun, even though it has very little, actually it has absolutely nothing to do with the movies. It's just a license.
Run and guns can be a lot of fun, and my choice for a great Master System run and gun is gonna be Time Soldiers. It's very unique with the setting because you're these soldiers and you get to fight through different periods of time while rescuing your squad mates. It's done really well, and the co-op for it is surprisingly good. So if you have a buddy, you can play Time Soldiers together, but there's a lot of action, there's some cool boss fights. I think Time Soldiers is a great run and gun game.
Absolutely Enduro Racer or the easy choice Outrun. Both are great. One's an isometric overhead motorcycle game. The other one is an arcade superscaler port. Outrun's the easy answer, but I like Enduro Racer quite a bit.
Outrun was such a classic in the arcade, and when it got ported to the Master System, they did it near flawlessly. It's really good, and for an 8-bit game, Outrun really does give you the sense of racing, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. So for me, I think it's an easy choice. Enduro Racer is great too, but for me, Outrun gets first place in the racing category.
Either Lord of the Sword or Considine, as I always said it. Both are great games, incredibly difficult. Stay far away from the arcade port of Golden Axe. That seems like an easy answer, but man, that the animation in that is so choppy, it's like almost unplayable if you ask me.
I feel like a lot of hack and slash games on the Master System are pretty underrated. My choice for one that you guys should play is going to be Rastin. This was an arcade port, it got ported to the Master System, but to me it's a really cool adventure. There's a lot of action, and it's really satisfying to slash your enemies. So my top choice is going to be Rastin.
A shoot 'em up that is great on the Master System, I want to say Space Harriers. I mean, Space Harrier is the game that I wanted for the system. That's the whole reason I asked for a Master System for Christmas in 1986 or 87. I do want to give a bit of a shout out to Astro Warrior, because I think that's a pretty good pack-in game and kind of underappreciated. But if you want to go something like Power Strike, aka Aleste, that's really good too.
I've got a lot of great memories with shoot 'em ups on this console. To me, the earliest one that I remember is playing Astro Warrior. It's such a great game. It's really a great game to introduce to a gamer who wants to get into the shoot 'em up genre. It's also just a great game in general to introduce to a newcomer to video games. The difficulty curve is almost perfect. It's short, there's a lot of action on the screen, but it's not too challenging the first level. So you'll always get that satisfaction of being able to beat the first level. But Astro Warrior is my favorite shoot 'em up, but there's also plenty of others. I think R-Type is phenomenal. The soundtrack to that's really good. It's got some really fierce boss fights. And then I mentioned previously Phantasy Zone 2. If you want something a little bit more unique, a little bit cute, a game that goes both left and right, Phantasy Zone 2 is quite the challenge. There's not a ton of beat 'em ups that you can choose from, but to me, I'm picking Black Belt. I love the history because this is actually Fist of the North Star, but to me, what Black Belt does is not only present a really big challenge, but it also gives you this unique view of these boss fights on the screen. You have these little sprites that are side-scrolling for most of the level, and then when you reach a boss, it's huge. It's really kind of a shock to face off with these bosses, and it's a lot of fun. So Black Belt is my choice for a beat 'em up on the Master System. Fighting games really hadn't come around yet when the Master System was around, but there are a couple titles that you could consider fighting games. One of them is Mortal Kombat, and you know, the Mortal Kombat did a lot on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and when it got ported to the Master System, it surprisingly wasn't that bad. It's a little bit slow, you can't do all the fatalities, but if you just want to beat up your friend, Mortal Kombat will get the trick done. Picking a soundtrack or picking a few of the best ones on the console is so difficult. I'm not gonna pick out the obvious ones. like Zillion or Phantasy Star, but there are other really, really great soundtracks that I feel like need to be highlighted. Miracle Warriors, which was another JRPG, is a great soundtrack. And you also have, more familiar titles like Sonic the Hedgehog. That's got a great soundtrack. So to me, there's just so many games that have great music. And I think we're lucky with the Master System and how it really gave us such great output to listen to our music while we were playing the game. So those are a couple of my choices, but you're gonna find a lot of games with great music. If we're talking about Sega, we have to talk about its most famous mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog. And yes, there are 6 titles of Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System. Some of them are exclusive to PAL regions, some of them are exclusive to Brazil, but all of them are pretty solid titles. For me personally, I really do enjoy the first Sonic the Hedgehog, and for those that are thinking, well, why not just play it on the Genesis? That's because they are different games. The theme is mostly the same and as far as the plot goes, but there are different levels, different bosses on the Master System that are very worthy of your attention. So if you're a Sonic fan, you gotta check out some of these Sonic the Hedgehog titles. For me, the first 2 are pretty great.
What is my favorite boss fight on the Master System? I want to say Dark Falls and Phantasy Star. I mean, the game Phantasy Star is so close to me that it's really hard to think of anything on the Master System without thinking of that first. Dark Falls, kind of a surprise boss. I was certainly not prepared for it when I first played it as a kid. And I think that it holds up really well. It's just like a really, really giant sprite. It just like looks really, really detailed, and compared to every other enemy in the game, it's just so much more.
One of my favorite elements to any video game is a great boss fight, and the Master System had a few incredible boss fights that were really fun to replay and get good at. For me, my choice is gonna be the Mecha Dragon in Wonder Boy 3. This is a very early boss fight. You're gonna fight him in the first 5 minutes of the game, and he's extremely easy to beat. You really have to fail on purpose not to defeat him. But to me, that boss fight showcases what you are about to experience throughout your entire journey on Wonder Boy 3. It's a big sprite, it's got flashy graphics, the soundtrack when you're fighting him is really, really good, and it's just a fun boss fight. Not all boss fights have to be extremely challenging, and for me, to counter Coury's choice of Dark Falls, which was at the very end of Phantasy Star and is a very difficult boss fight if you're not properly leveled up, I'm picking probably one of the easiest boss fights, but still, to me, the Mecha Dragon is a ton of fun. Now, I've been praising the Master System this entire video, but that doesn't mean that there aren't stinkers on this console. In fact, there's a lot of bad games on this system. And we're gonna be looking at 2 pretty bad games. My choice is gonna be an obvious one, and it seems to be the unanimous decision for worst Master System game. That's gonna be Alf. I think a lot of people were disappointed. Alf was a really popular franchise at the time, and it's just not a fun game. It's very difficult. One hit's gonna kill you. You constantly have these agents going after you, and Alf just doesn't give you that replayability of a game where if you can't get past something, you wanna challenge yourself. You wanna get better at it. Alf doesn't present that. It just presents you chucking the controller out the window.
I mean, there's quite a few bad games on the Master System. But something that I've kind of come around to in recent months as being one of the worst games on the system is Alex Kidd in High Tech World. This is a game that I had a soft spot for as a kid, but it's not that good. Part of me, liked the Sega trivia that's in it, but going back to it now, man, it's pretty junky. What can I say?
Now, if you are a Master System collector and you have these 3 games, I'm gonna be pretty impressed with you because it cost a lot of money, maybe, to get these games. Maybe you got them way early on and they're worth a lot of money now, but for you collectors out there, these are the top 3 games that you can add to your library if you want the most expensive games. If you're a Brazilian gamer, well, you can pick out Street Fighter 2 that goes between $1,500 and $2,000. If you're in PAL regions, the Smurfs 2, which was only released in Portugal, will cost you between $2,000 and $3,000. But North Americans, I have not left you out. If you want the most expensive game, you're looking at James Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing. It was very limited with the license, and now it's gonna cost you around $1,200. Do I have any of these games? No, I do not. But on the flip side, let's take a look at some of the cheapest games you can start your Master System collection with. And these games aren't that terrible. Great Football is gonna run you $10.50, while Shanghai is $10. But a game that I actually played a ton as a kid, and I don't think it's a bad game, I think it's kind of fun, is Great Basketball. That is gonna cost $8 complete in box. While the Master System library is pretty small compared to the NES, there were quite a few games that were canceled for it, and some of these looked really good, so I'm disappointed that these never came out. A few games that I wish would have followed through and been released on the Master System is Phantasy Star 2. Yeah, it got its release on the Genesis and it's a phenomenal game, but I just wish the Master System would have had another Phantasy Star on it. If it did, who knows, maybe more people would have picked up the Master System. But there's also the Viking Child, which looked like a really solid platformer, and Battletoads, which was pretty popular on the NES. It was in development for the Master System. It just unfortunately never came out. We've been talking about the passion of the Master System in Brazil, but around the world, it's still going. In fact, plenty of people are still making games for the Master System in the homebrew scene. And these are 2 of my top choices for games that, if you want a new game, pick these up. The first one is Alex Kidd in Miracle World 2. Everything that you liked in the first Alex Kidd is gonna be in this one, and it's really good. But if you want a whole brand new experience, my choice is Flight of Pigorus. This is a really cool shoot 'em up, it looks gorgeous, and most of all, it's fun. I just mentioned Brazil, and so I have to give a shout out to some games that are exclusive to Brazil that I think are really worth your attention. The first one is gonna be Dynamite Headdy. Yeah, it released on other consoles and platforms, but I think it's just really cool that this was released on the Master System and it looks great. And then the other game that I think deserves some attention is X-Men Mojo World, where you get to play as a couple different X-Men. It's an action platformer where this game didn't get released on the Master System anywhere else. The Master System started in Japan, and it also had some games that were released exclusively in Japan, and it stayed that way. These are 2 games that I would love to get my hands on if I could in Japan. Megumi Rescue is not only a game that looks great, but it kind of has an arcade feel to it where you're these firefighters and you have to catch the people that are falling out of these buildings with a trampoline. It's just silly fun, but it looks really good, and I'd love to have it in my collection. The other game is Comical Machine Gun Joe. It's a mouthful, but it's an action-packed shoot 'em up, I guess you could say. You're shooting these bad guys on the screen as they appear. It's kind of silly, but it looks really fun, and I wish that we would have got this in America. You want to know what people love to hear about? Hidden gems and underrated games. And so for this next section, I'm going to be talking about a couple hidden gems, underrated games, whatever you want to call them, that are on the Master System. Now the first one is going to be Psycho Fox, and people either love this game or they hate it, and that is purely based on the physics aspect of this platformer. You have to learn how to run and jump with the momentum that you have in this game. To me, I think it's pretty fun once you get the controls down, and overall, pretty solid platformer. One that is a PAL exclusive that I discovered on my own is Submarine Attack. This is a shoot 'em up. It has gorgeous graphics, interactive environments, and it's not a shoot 'em up set in space. You're a sub, you're going deeper and deeper into the ocean, and it presents a pretty solid challenge. And finally, one that I just recently started to play is the Ninja. It is brutally tough, but I'm having a blast with it. I think a lot of Master System fans that have had this console for a long time, they all praise the Ninja. So if you haven't yet, give it a shot because it's a real challenge and it's pretty solid.
I really like Spellcaster. You know, it's just has a really good quest to it, but also, you know, like some great action scenes. And it has like these first-person, almost like Shadowgate-esque areas too. Although, like, I do prefer the sequel, Mystic Defender on the Genesis, I think that Spellcaster is a pretty great game on the Master System.
So if you've never played the Master System and you want to know the best games, the top games for the console, these are going to be my choices. Now I think these choices are obviously my opinion, but I feel like lots of people in the community hail these as the best games for the system. And so if you're interested in playing the Master System, these are going to be the games that you want to seek out because it's going to give you the best experience that the Sega Master System has to offer. So many of my PAL friends told me that Asterix was one of the best games that I could experience. And I found it, I started to play it, and yes, I can agree with them. Asterix is a great platformer. It's really charming and it's got some quirky humor. So if you're looking for something like that, definitely give Asterix a shot. Golden Axe Warrior, you know, everyone's gonna dog on it because it's a Zelda clone, but Zelda's a pretty awesome game and being a clone of it isn't a bad thing. So if you want the Zelda adventure just on the Master System, Golden Axe Warrior does some great things. Probably the best shoot 'em up is gonna be R-Type. Not only does it have huge bosses, a great soundtrack, but it's really smooth, it looks great, and it presents a very solid challenge. Phantasy Star, I've praised it a ton on this channel, but if you want an epic adventure that spans 3 different planets, amazing graphics, great soundtrack, it's very challenging. Phantasy Star is just, it's not gonna disappoint you if you love JRPGs. And then my top choice for the best game is gonna be Wonder Boy 3. Wonder Boy 3 is flawless in my opinion. It's a near 10 out of 10. You get to transform into different animals as you tackle these sections of the game where only they can proceed. You know, if you're the Hawk Man, you can fly. If you're the Piranha Man, you can swim. If you're the Mouse Man, you can stick on walls. But it also has really fun boss fights. It's just, it gives you a true sense of adventure and there's secrets around every corner. And I played it a ton as a kid, and I got a lot of great memories of Wonder Boy 3.
How did the Master System influence later Sega systems? And I don't know, they figured out what not to do. I mean, certainly like the grid design and in the boxes certainly inspired the Genesis. You know, like the white grid versus the black grid on the Genesis. But I think that they just pretty much knew, in terms of marketing, what not to do to go against Nintendo at the time. They understood that like having FM sound was important, and that's why the Genesis has an FM sound, has the Yamaha chip in it.
Now, I may have just spoiled this, but the final thing I'm going to share are my favorite Master System games. These are the games to me that I can go back to time and time again and never get sick of them. These are the games that shaped me as a Master System lover, and whenever someone comes over, I love to share my experience of these games with them, and I love seeing my friends play these games. So these are my choices for my favorite games on the Sega Master System. Choplifter is really unique because it's kind of a shoot 'em up, but instead of blowing up enemies on purpose, you're actually rescuing people. It's a good twist, and it definitely presents a solid challenge. It looks great, there's some Easter eggs in it. I had a blast playing this game growing up. Another choice is going to be Astro Warrior. I've talked about that already, and how much I played it as a kid. I have some new favorite memories with my buddy Lame Dad, having him visit me and play this game in my basement for the first time. And then a game that I haven't talked about a ton in this video, but I've talked about a lot on my channel, is Zillion. Zillion to me, I think, is the most underrated game on the console. It is a sci-fi adventure based on an anime. It does a lot of great things with character swapping. There's some memorization that you have to do. There's a giant labyrinth that you go through. To me, it's just a very unique experience that you don't find on the NES or any other game on the Master System. For me, I played this game a lot as a kid, did not get far, but it kept me coming back and back and back. And as an adult, I finally beat it and I loved it. My last two, I've talked a ton about already. It's gonna be Phantasy Star and Wonder Boy 3. Both amazing games, both games that everyone should have in their libraries, both games that are the top of their genre. You have Wonder Boy 3, an amazing platformer. You have Phantasy Star, the best 8-bit JRPG. And so those are my favorite experiences overall on the Master System.
I've said it so many times, but my favorite game on the system is easily, without a doubt, Phantasy Star. I have my childhood copy. It's like really, really important to me. And I love the way that the manual, like I took it with me everywhere when I was just obsessed with it. And I had these unforgettable experiences with my friends who were also playing through the game at the time on the system. And it was just a magical experience that very much shaped who I am in terms of like video games today. Just the kind of stuff that I like. It introduced me to RPGs, and because I got into RPGs with that, then I knew, I want to buy every RPG that I possibly can for the future. And because of that, I ended up getting like Chrono Trigger Day One and stuff like that. Just it really taught me that video games could be more than just a arcade experience or by level experience. It was just a grand story, and it made my friends and me better friends because of it. So I think that somebody should play the Master System today just to look back on history, to see where Sega kind of came from. And, there's lots of interesting arcade ports on the system, and I think it's just a really special system for a lot of people. And I think that there's a lot of things on it that people don't even know are on it, and would be surprised to see that this game released on here, or this game was ported to it. It's just it's a very underappreciated system, and I think that people that grew up with it know how special it was, and I think that those people carry a torch for it even today. And I think that that's kind of special. It's like the Master System fans of the world, they look at video games differently today, and that kind of rolls into what the Master System accomplished and what makes it special today, because it was the first video game system that was mine. Right? We had Ataris in my family, and we didn't even have an NES yet when I wanted the Master System, because I just wanted to play Space Harrier at home, and at the time, the Master System was the only way to do it. And I'm glad that I chose that one, because the NES version of Space Harrier is junk. But it became like a central point to a lot of my childhood friends group. We took a lot of pride in saying we like the Master System more than the NES. And in retrospect, it's doesn't have nearly as many good games on it as that, and that's just an easy thing to say. But I think that at the time, we really wanted to champion it, and it really shaped my childhood in a lot of ways that the NES probably wouldn't have, because it's the idea of we are getting the less popular system, and we're gonna hold this one up and favor it for better or worse. And it just is untouchable in my mind because of that. I'm Coury from My Life in Gaming, and thanks for having me on.
Gamers and Master System fans, it has been a blast these last few years, reliving my Master System memories with you and showcasing all of these videos. I've done so many videos on the Master System, and I hope that you've learned something from them. I know I certainly have, doing some of this research for them, but it's been a blast. It was Sega's first console in America, and it was my first console, so it's always going to be special to me. And through all these videos that I've made throughout the years, I've really gotten to know the community better, and it's been so welcoming, and I've learned so much about the games from you guys. And so this was just a big thank you from me to you for all of my returning viewers that just love the Master System. And I also want to give a shout out to Coury from My Life in Gaming for collabing on this video with me. He's also a Master System lover, and we really got to become friends over the console, and it's just been great talking to him about this as well. Now, if you guys could do me a favor, I would love a comment from you. Drop me a comment below on this video, or on any memory you have of the Master System, or something that you learned watching this video. And especially to help my channel to grow, to help me to continue doing this type of content, hit that sub button. I would love to grow this channel. It would mean a lot to me. So I appreciate all of you viewers watching out there. Now, typically I say, make sure you play a video game today, but I'm gonna make it a little bit more special this time. Viewers, today I'm asking, make sure you play a Master System game today. I'll catch you later.